Have you ever noticed a woman who enters a room and seems to carry her own source of light? She isn't necessarily the loudest, the most conventionally beautiful, or the most decorated. Instead, there's a stillness about her, a quiet certainty that doesn't demand your attention but earns it effortlessly. She speaks with clarity, listens with presence, and moves with an unforced grace. You might feel a sense of ease around her, a feeling that you don't need to perform. Her confidence isn't a show. It feels like an anchor, something deeply rooted within her. And perhaps you've wondered, what is her secret? How does she possess that unshakable quality that so many of us sap our lives searching for? The answer is simpler and yet more profound than you might imagine. It has nothing to do with what she has, and everything to do with what she has let go of. The secret confident women use is not an outward strategy. It's not a power pose, a new wardrobe, or a list of affirmations repeated into a mirror, though those things can be helpful tools. The real secret is an internal shift. It is the conscious decision to stop outsourcing her self-worth. Think about how much of our energy is spent on managing the perceptions of others. From a young age, many of us are taught, directly or indirectly, that our value is a reflection in someone else's eyes. We learn to be the good girl, the helpful fry, the easygoing partner, the perfect employee. Each role comes with a script, and we measure our success by the applause we receive. Did they like what I said? Do they think I'm smart? Am I still wanted? This constant monitoring is exhausting. It's like trying to stand firmly on a boat in the middle of a storm, with the waves of public opinion tossing you from side to side. You can never find your balance because your footing is entirely dependent on something outside of your control. Confident women have learned to step off that boat and onto solid ground. That solid ground is their own internal validation. It's the radical understanding that their worth is not up for debate. It is not a committee decision. It is inherent. This doesn't mean she is arrogant or dismissive of others. In fact, the opposite is often true. Because she is not desperately seeking approval, she is free to connect with people authentically. She can listen without ego, speak her truth without aggression, and apologize with sincerity when she is wrong. Her interactions are not transactions designed to earn validation points. They are genuine exchanges. Have you ever felt that pressure to agree with everyone in a conversation just to keep the peace? Or the sting of a minor criticism that ruins your entire day? That comes from a place where your sense of self is fragile, dependent on the fragile and ever-changing opinions of others. Psychology suggests this pattern is deeply ingrained. We can think of two opposing forces within us: the externally referenced self and the internally referenced self. The externally referenced self operates like a satellite, constantly sending out signals and waiting for a response to confirm its location and function. Am I okay? Am I good enough? It asks the world. Its mood, decisions, and feelings of worth are determined by the feedback it receives. The internally referenced self, however, operates like a compass. It has its own true north. While it acknowledges the landscape around it, the opinions, feedback, and needs of others, it never loses its own direction. It navigates the world from a stable inner core. The secret, then, is the patient and sometimes painful process of transitioning from a life guided by the satellite to a life guided by the compass. It's about learning to trust your own guidance system over the noise of the outside world. But why is that satellite signal so strong in the first place? And what makes it so difficult to switch it off and trust the compass within? The origin of that dependency is where the real work begins. That powerful signal from the outside world, the one that tells you whether you are safe, worthy, or lovable, is not a personal failing. It is a remnant of a brilliant survival strategy. Think back to when you were a child. Your physical and emotional survival depended entirely on the approval and care of the adults around you. Crying got you fed. Smiling earned you affection. Following the rules kept you safe. You learned, on a profound and pre-verbal level, that adapting your behavior to please others was the key to getting your needs met. You became an expert at reading the room, at sensing the subtle shifts in a parent's mood, at figuring out what was expected of you before it was even said. This is not manipulation, it is intelligence. It is the foundation of empathy and social connection. The problem is not the strategy itself. The problem is that we forget to update it. As we grow into adulthood, this survival mechanism, once so essential, can become a cage. The unconscious belief that my worth is determined by your approval as to run in the background of our minds, long after we are capable of feeding, housing, and protecting ourselves. The good girl who was praised for being quiet and agreeable in school becomes the woman who is terrified to voice a dissenting opinion in a work meeting. The child who learned to suppress her anger to avoid upsetting a volatile parent becomes the adult who doesn't know how to set a boundary. Do you recognize this pattern in your own life? Have you ever felt a surge of anxiety at the thought of disappointing someone, even a near stranger? That anxiety is an echo of that old survival fear. If they are not happy with me, I will be abandoned. This is especially potent for women, who are often culturally conditioned to be the emotional caretakers of society. We are praised for being selfless, nurturing, and accommodating. We are taught that putting others' needs before our own is a virtue. And while there is great beauty and strength in compassion, this social script can easily be twisted into a mandate for self-abandonment. We learn to silence our own needs, our own desires, and our own truths in the service of keeping everyone else comfortable. We become so attuned to the needs of others that we lose the ability to hear ourselves. The satellite signal broadcasting, "What do they need from me?" becomes so loud that it completely drowns out the quiet, steady hum of our own inner compass telling us, "This is what I need for myself." The truly confident woman has recognized this outdated programming. She has understood that the operating system she installed in childhood to ensure her survival is now limiting her growth. She realizes that what once kept her safe is now keeping her small, and so she begins the delicate process of questioning it. She starts to see that the fear of disapproval is just that, a fear, an echo, not an actual threat to her existence. She understands that another person's disappointment is their emotion to manage, not a verdict on her worth. This is not a sudden, dramatic event. It is a quiet revolution, a series of small, courageous choices. It's the choice to say no without a lengthy explanation, the choice to state an opinion that might be unpopular, the choice to allow someone to be upset with her and to sit with the discomfort of that feeling without immediately rushing to fix it. Each one of these acts is a small vote for her own internal authority. It is a declaration that she is now the one in charge of deciding her own value. This is the beginning of reclaiming her power, not power over others, but the profound and peaceful power of being sovereign over her own inner world. So, what lies beneath that discomfort of disappointing someone? If you sit with that feeling, that frantic urge to smooth things over and regain approval, what do you find? For many, it's not just a simple fear of conflict. It's a deeper, more primal fear, the fear of being truly seen. And not just seen, but seen and found wanting. It's the terror that if you stop performing, if you stop managing their perception of you, they will glimpse the parts of you that you yourself have decided are unacceptable. And then, the story goes, they will leave. This is where the external battle for approval reveals its true source, an internal war against the self. Long before anyone else has a chance to judge you, a powerful agent inside your own mind has already delivered a verdict. We can call this the inner critic. This is the voice that replays your mistakes on a loop, that points out your flaws with surgical precision, and that warns you of all the ways you might fail or be rejected. Have you ever noticed how this voice often sounds suspiciously like a critical parent, a strict teacher, or a social standard you were taught to uphold? It's not your voice. It is an internalized echo of all the external judgments you absorbed throughout your life. Its function, paradoxically, is to protect you. It operates on a simple, if flawed, premise. If I criticize myself harshly enough, I can preempt the criticism of others. If I keep myself small, I won't be a target. If I point out my own flaws first, their judgment won't hurt as much. It's a strategy of controlled self-destruction designed to avoid a larger, more unpredictable outside attack. The confident woman understands that this inner critic is not a truth teller. It's a fearmonger running an old, outdated protection program. She recognizes that this voice is the guardian at the gate of a part of herself she has been taught to disown. This is the part of us often called the shadow. The shadow isn't evil or monstrous. It is simply made up of all the human traits that we were told were bad, unladylike, or unlovable. Think about it. As a little girl, were you ever told you were being too loud, too bossy, or too emotional? Did you learn that your anger was unacceptable, your ambition was selfish, or your needs were an inconvenience? To gain approval and stay safe, you learn to push those qualities down, to hide them away in the dark. You split yourself in two: the acceptable self you showed to the world, and the unacceptable shadow self you kept hidden, even from yourself. The constant anxiety of the people pleaser is the energy it takes to keep that shadow locked away. The fear of disapproval is actually the fear that someone will see a crack in the performance and the unacceptable you will leak out. What if they see my anger? What if they realize I have my own ambitions? What if they find out I'm not always nice, selfless, and agreeable? The confident woman's secret is that she has stopped guarding the gate and has instead turned around to face what's behind it. She has begun the courageous work of making peace with her own shadow. She realizes her anger isn't a flaw, it's a vital signal that a boundary has been crossed. Her ambition isn't selfishness, it's the life force of her potential. Her desire for solitude isn't rude, it's a necessary act of self-renewal. She understands that by disowning these parts of herself, she has been living a divided life, cutting herself off from immense sources of power, wisdom, and authenticity. Her confidence doesn't come from being flawless. It comes from the quiet strength of becoming whole. This journey into wholeness, this process of accepting the parts of yourself you usually hide, is not about becoming a different person. It's about becoming more fully yourself. It's a process of integration, not elimination. Imagine you have a team of advisors inside you. The people pleaser is one advisor, and for years she has been running the whole show, making every decision. Her main goal is safety through social harmony. She is excellent at building consensus and avoiding conflict, but she is also prone to burnout, resentment, and a loss of self. Now imagine you go into the shadows and find the other advisors you've banished. There's the warrior who holds your anger and your boundaries. She is fierce and protective. There's the visionary who holds your ambition and your unconventional ideas. She is bold and creative. There's the hermit who holds your need for rest and solitude. She is wise and replenishing. The externally referenced woman lives under the dictatorship of the people pleaser. She believes this is the only way to be. The confident woman, however, learns to build a round table. She invites all these parts of herself to have a voice. She understands that the goal isn't for the warrior to take over and start fights everywhere, nor is it for the visionary to make reckless decisions. The goal is balance. When faced with a decision, she learns to listen to all of them. The people pleaser might say, it would be easier to just say yes. The warrior might say, this request violates your time and energy. The hermit might say, you are tired and need to rest. And the visionary might say, saying no to this frees you up for something more important. Instead of being pulled in one direction by an old survival habit, she can now make a conscious choice from a place of inner clarity. She is no longer a servant to one part of herself. She is the leader of a well-rounded internal council. Do you see how this changes everything? When you have access to your own anger, you can say no with calm authority because you are not afraid of the energy behind it. When you honor your own ambition, you can celebrate another woman's success without feeling threatened because your worth is not tied to being the best. When you embrace your need for solitude, you can be fully present with others when you choose to be, because you are not running on an empty tank. This is the essence of what ancient Stoic philosophers talked about when they distinguished between what we can control and what we cannot. You can never control how others will react to your decisions. They may be disappointed. They may be angry. They may not understand. That is outside your control. But you can control your own internal landscape. You can control whether you make a decision based on fear and external validation or on integrity and self-awareness. This is why true confidence is so quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself. It is the natural state of a person who is no longer at war with herself. She is not wasting energy suppressing her own power or desperately seeking external permission to exist as she is. She has an inner sturdiness that comes from accepting her full humanity, the light and the dark, the agreeable and the fierce, the social and the solitary. Think of a time you've had to make a difficult choice. Did you poll everyone you knew for their opinion, hoping they would give you the right answer? Or did you get quiet, Listen to that deep inner knowing and make a choice that felt true even if it was scary. That second path is the path of the internally referenced woman. It's the path of trusting that you contain all the wisdom you need, if you are only brave enough to listen to all the parts of yourself. This listening is not a one-time act. It is a lifelong practice of self-communion. This internal counsel doesn't just offer wisdom in big life decisions. Its most profound impact is felt in the small, moment-to-moment interactions of daily life. The real-world manifestation of this inner alignment is the shift from a life of unconscious reaction to a life of conscious response. Think about it. How much of your day is spent on autopilot, driven by old emotional habits? Someone cuts you off in traffic, and a surge of rage is immediate. A colleague makes a passive-aggressive comment, and you're instantly defensive or replaying the incident for hours. A fry asks for a favor you don't have time for, and the word yes leaves your mouth before you've even had a chance to think. These are reactions. They are automatic, conditioned, and often leave you feeling powerless and drained. They are the evidence that an external event has breached your inner peace and taken control of your emotional state. The confident woman has learned to create a space between the trigger and her action. It might be a space as brief as a single deep breath, but in that space lies her freedom. This is perhaps one of the most powerful and practical applications of her internal work. When presented with a stimulus, a critical email, a difficult conversation, an unexpected problem, she doesn't immediately merge with the initial emotional wave. Instead, she has practiced the art of observation. She learns to witness the feeling arising within her without becoming the feeling itself. She can feel the heat of anger, the sting of shame, or the pull of obligation, and say to herself, "Ah, there is anger," rather than, "I am angry and must act on it now." Imagine you receive that critical email. The reactive part of you, the part still wired for external validation, might immediately feel a flood of shame and panic. Your mind starts racing, crafting a defensive reply, trying to manage the other person's perception and restore your good status. Your entire nervous system is hijacked by the old survival program. Threat detected. Must fix the external situation to feel safe again. But what if you could create that pause? In that breath, you could ask yourself different questions. What is this feeling that's coming up? Is it a familiar one? You could look at the email again, not as a verdict on your worth, but as a piece of data. Is there any useful feedback here, separate from the tone in which it was delivered? Is this person's reaction more about their own stress than it is about you? In that space, you are no longer a victim of the event. You are an active participant in how it affects you. You get to choose your response. Your response might be to address the feedback calmly. It might be to set a boundary about how you wish to be communicated with. It might even be to recognize that no response is necessary at all. The power is that the choice is yours and it is made from a place of clarity, not from a place of panicked reactivity. This skill is not about being cold or detached. It is the opposite. It is about being so deeply connected to your own inner state that the turbulence of the outside world is less likely to throw you off course. Her confidence is not a shield that deflects all blows. It is a deep root system that allows her to be in the wind without breaking. She has learned that her inner peace is too valuable to be handed over to the moods and opinions of others. And the space between stimulus and response is the sacred ground where she defs it. Ultimately, this journey leads to a profound redefinition of what it means to be successful and what it means to be safe. In the externally referenced world, success is measured by a checklist of outside achievements. Did you get the promotion? Are you in a relationship? Do people admire you? Is your life Instagram worthy? Safety in this model is found in securing the approval of the group, in conforming to expectations, and in avoiding failure or criticism at all costs. It's a game of accumulation, accumulating accolades, allies, and affirmations to build a fortress against the feeling of inadequacy. But as you've likely experienced, this fortress is incredibly fragile. One critical comment, one professional setback, one social rejection can feel like a devastating blow because it threatens the very foundation of your perceived worth. The confident woman, having done the inner work, operates from a completely different paradigm. She has traded the fragile fortress of external approval for the unshakable foundation of self-trust. Her definition of success is no longer about what she achieves, but about who she is becoming. Success is living in alignment with her own values, even when it's difficult. It's speaking her truth with kindness. It's honoring her own needs as much as she honors the needs of others. It's taking risks not for applause, but for the sake of her own growth. Have you ever made a choice that looked like a failure to the outside world? Perhaps leaving a prestigious job or in a perfect relationship? But you knew deep in your core that it was the right decision for you? That feeling of rightness, that deep, quiet integrity, is her new metric for success. Her concept of safety is also revolutionized. Safety is no longer found in avoiding disapproval. It is found in the knowledge that she can handle disapproval. It is found in her trust in her own resilience. She knows that she can survive feeling sad or disappointed or misunderstood. She has faced those feelings inside herself and knows they are temporary weather patterns, not permanent states of being. She has discovered that the greatest danger was never the judgment of others. It was the pain of self-abandonment. And so her primary commitment is to never abandon herself again. This is the source of her courage. She can be vulnerable, take chances, and show up authentically because her safety net is no longer woven from the opinions of others. It is woven from her unwavering connection to herself. This is the ultimate secret. The confident woman has stopped playing a game she can't win, the game of controlling what others think of her. Instead, she has turned her attention to the one game she can win, the game of self-mastery. She has learned that true, sustainable confidence is not a feeling she chases. It is the natural outcome of a life lived from the inside out. It's the peace that comes from knowing you are your own anchor in any storm. It is the freedom of no longer needing the world to tell you who you are because you have finally and fully come home to yourself. This isn't a destination she arrives at once and for all. It is a continuous practice, a daily returning to her inner compass, a moment-by-moment choice to honor the authority of her own soul. The outer world will always be noisy and demanding, but she has learned to listen to a quieter, more reliable voice. Her worth is not a question to be answered, it is a truth to be inhabited.